Thank you. Okay. It's okay. So very quick. Sorry, hapa niambie kwamba I didn't tell them my name.
So good afternoon once again, Amnesty Kenya, and today I'm just moderating the session. We have a panel led by Maria, who many of you know now very well, Maria Sarungi, who was abducted and then after tremendous international and national of Kenya council member, and has been very active in the response to what happened yesterday and June last year. Roland Ebole, who works for Amnesty International, he's the researcher for Uganda and Tanzania. We didn't think you were going to come with so much power and warmth, and then we will have a statement from Roland. And then thirdly, we will have a statement from the Law Society. We will then open up for questions, and we have capacity and space for people to do individual interviews after this. So if you can just, I hope that's okay. I believe we have the entire world of the media here, so I'm not even going to bother to start reading out who's in the room. Very much technical people. Are we ready to start? Anybody not ready? Anybody need a few more minutes?
Well, 1 minute.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. And just with the microphones, do we need to move around, or can they pick up the speakers from where they are? You'll need to. So for the panelists, you're going to have to play musical chairs. So 2, 1, Maria.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. And just a very quick word is I want to show, first of all, my appreciation to all of you journalists, because I know that you did a lot of coverage. As a fellow journalist, you must understand it's very strange for me to be on this side of the camera, but I thank you very much. Yesterday, I left home to go to a hair salon and spa just to have my hair done, which unfortunately won't be able to see much after the tussle. But once I reached there, I was finishing up when I saw a lady that I noted came in very quickly, was wearing a mask and went out. And, but I didn't think much of it. One of the things that I did, and usually I do, is I keep in touch with my husband to keep him up to date where I am. So I updated him that I'm about to leave. And I called through the little app, I called a ride. The person arrived, but was not able to get inside, and the place was called Chaka Place. So I rushed to the gate to get in, and the driver was trying now to move out of the gateway into the main road of Agwin's Kodek when a black van stopped in front of us, and suddenly, like out of the movie, I saw two individuals coming to both sides of the door, and then they were yelling at the driver. I started yelling with the driver. I was telling him, don't open the door, don't open the door. They cannot take me. I was screaming. After that, they managed to open the door and they started dragging me. So one of the things I did is I was really fighting them not to be taken and put into the car. They dragged me. I do recall that I did a lot of kicking because they were trying to pin me down. They managed to lift me into the car, but they were having a problem shutting the car because I was kicking. But I was screaming, I was asking for help. I remember the driver was looking toward what was happening. His face was the last thing I think that I saw before it shut. Then they tried to cover my face. They were using some form of cloth, and what they were doing is they were putting the cloth on my nose and my mouth, and they were saying that you will not be able to breathe, so you have to shut up. But I was still fighting, and we were moving very fast. Suddenly there was a thud. So while they were trying to cover my head, I saw what now I know is a city hopper. So I just saw a bus, and then I heard shouts, and they were shouting to each other in the car. Then there was, in Swahili, one said bunduki. So I immediately knew that they have a weapon with them. There was a thud, so I think there was a crash between the city hopper and the vehicle, but because of that, I could see. They couldn't cover my face. And that's when I realized I was also in handcuffs. They tightened a lot the handcuffs, they covered my head, and they were looking for the phone. So one of the things I did is I laid on the phone so they couldn't access it. So they were trying now to search all my bags, and they were shouting with me. One kept choking me, asking me, where's my phone? Where's your phone? And I was just saying, why are you doing this with me? So there was all that communication, but I was not giving them anything. After a while, because they were also tossing me, they sat on my leg because I was kicking. I wanted to kick out the window. So I was kicking them. I kicked one of them on the other side, and that's when I realized he was the one who had the handcuffs. He tightened a lot the handcuffs. It was really hurting me. And they finally found the phone. When they found the phone, they were very happy. Like they were like eager, and they were telling me to give them the PIN. And they were speeding, and they kept insisting, give us the PIN. So I just gave them numbers, random numbers. And I couldn't even think straight. So I was just giving them numbers. The one who was in the passenger seat was the one who was handling and really wanted to get into my phone. And he kept saying, it's a wrong PIN. Get her to give me the PIN. So every time they wouldn't be able to get the PIN, they would try to choke me and pull on my handcuffs until I felt my hands were going numb. So I told them, I said, you're torturing me. I can't remember the numbers. You need to loosen and you need to let me relax so I can remember my PIN. And they were like, you're just buying time. Why are you not telling us? Then I asked them, where are you taking me? So they told me that they are police and they're taking me to the police station. I told them it's not possible you're police because you abducted me. And the guy on the left who was holding the handcuffs got very angry and pulled and said, we didn't abduct you, we didn't abduct you. So I said, okay, if you're the police, then take me to the police station and I will relax. I'll also give you the PIN. And I started basically trying to negotiate. And then they started shouting with me, shut up, shut up. So I said, I was saying, you're confusing me. You're confusing. So I was very distraught. So I said, you're asking me questions, and then you're telling me to shut up. Afterwards, we were going at a very high speed, and I kept asking time and time again, when are we getting to the station? Which station are you taking me? So one said the main station, and I said, where? So after a while, so I didn't get, to be honest, my sense of time I was starting to lose it. After a while, I said, you're not taking me to the station, are you? They said, no, relax, we're taking you to the station. Then again, I tried, because I felt like there is traffic, I tried to see if I can get out. Again, they tightened my handcuffs again, and they were making me lie down to my right, the guy who was holding me like that. The guy on the other side was holding the handcuff, was pulling my handcuff and sat on my legs. So I was begging them, don't sit on my leg because now you're hurting me and my back. So it was becoming, as we were going, they were becoming more and more rough. So after a while, I decided to keep a bit quiet, and I started feeling that we are going on a highway. The reason I say I know it was a highway, the bumps, there are the small bumps, and then afterwards there's a larger bump. So I said, this is a highway. This is some place that is not within the city. So I was telling them, where are you taking me? One of them, the one in front who had my phone, was calling my name, saying Maria, and I didn't react. And he tried to speak to me in Swahili. I was not speaking Swahili. So I kept asking them, why did you take me? Then they said, can you confirm your name? But I didn't give them my name. So I said, but if you abducted me, you need to know who I am. Why did you abduct me if you don't know my name? And that's when the guy was again tightening and saying, now, give me your name. And I said, but you're torturing me for nothing. You took me. You need to know who I am. So we went, and they stopped. After a while, I asked if I'm already at the police station. They told me to keep quiet, and they again put me down. They tried to get my head down. And in front, they got out of the car. It looked like they were either on the phone or consulting. I could hear sounds from far. We stood for a while, then again we continued with the journey. And I kept saying, are you taking me to the station? So the stops happened about, to my calculation, about 5 times. But I was getting confused with the time as it was going about 5 times. They stopped, and one was getting out. Toward the end, both the driver and the front passenger got out. They then also again told me to keep my head down, to keep quiet. Then the person from one side, and I don't know who it was, came to talk to the person who was holding me, whispered. I couldn't hear what they were whispering, and he covered my head with a jacket. So they were discussing something. And after that, I remember that we were going more, and eventually what they were saying was that they're going to release me, but I must not look back. I cannot look at the car once they remove it, and I have to wait until I hear the car disappear. I didn't know what time it was. When I stepped out of the vehicle, I had to wait until at the door until they took it off. It was very tight. They took it off, and I didn't turn. I was very scared. What was for me very evident was they gave me the bag, the huge bag that I had, which had my salon things like my hair stuff and whatever. And I was very scared. I was clutching it. But in the struggle, I also managed to get my small wallet, which had my ID. And I was so keen to keep my ID. So they couldn't find it, but when they gave it to me later after they had left, I realized they'd taken my phones. And when I started off, the only thing I knew was I have to walk toward, because it was a very dark place. It was already dusk, and it was a rough road. So I walked until I got to what looked like a main road, and I judged from the vehicles that the vehicles were coming from that side. So I decided that's probably where a lot of people are. So I started walking. So I walked for a while. It was getting very dark. There was no pavement. It was just beaten path. When I reached to a certain point, I saw some vehicles. I ran up. I asked one of them if it's an Uber. They said that they have a passenger. I walked furthermore, and then I just saw 2 cars parked. And then I got into that vehicle, one of them, and I gave them where I live, basically in the Kilimani. So I asked him to take me, and then I went. One of the things that I was very scared of when they dropped me is that I felt that they were watching me. So I couldn't prove it, but I felt like they let me go, but they were watching what I would do, because one of the things they said is, do not talk to anyone, but go home. And what for me was good was in that small wallet that I had Kenya shillings. It was 2,050 Kenya shillings that I had. So when I got into the Uber, I didn't have a phone. I just asked the Uber driver, how much should I give you? He said, give me 1,000. So I didn't have anything to say. I just gave him the 1,000. I got there. By then, nobody was at home. So I didn't have my phones. I managed to open my laptop. And on my laptop, I was able to make a phone call, first to my husband and then to some of the other people that I tried to reach. And then that is when Amnesty and everybody else came. And of course, then they started the arrangement for everything. I have not been able to access social media, in the sense that the first thing I did was to remove all my devices that were logged into Twitter and to some of the platforms. I am sure that the abduction, part of the abduction was to get access to my devices and to get access to the activities that I do online, which include, of course, sometimes doing whistleblowing, but also doing a lot around abductions in Tanzania. So that is the first thing that I really felt that they really wanted. The other thing that I really felt was that, and I even actually commented to them, although they didn't answer, is they were taking me outside Nairobi, but they were taking me across the border. And I told them, and they asked me, why are you scared to go across the border? And they say, so you know you've done something wrong. I said, I have not done anything wrong. Then they asked me, then why are you scared to go? Why do you think that you will have trouble? I told them, it's because I'm a loudmouth. That's what I told them. So they were evading questions, but my conviction is that at least one person was constantly speaking to me in Swahili. So for me, that was one indication. The other indication was my devices was of very keen interest for that one individual to gain access to. So my conclusion at the end of the day is that this incident is straightforward an incident that is targeting what I do for Tanzania. And definitely I feel that this could not have been the way it turned out without public pressure. One of the indications that I got was I was asked whether I have a husband. So I immediately knew that there was something that relating to my husband that they suddenly are interested. The other question that I got was, what do I do exactly? But every time I wouldn't answer, I would tell them that when you abducted me, what information do you have about me? And they really didn't like the word abduct. So they kept telling me, we did not abduct you. And I said, what you're doing is abduction. I didn't get to see their faces. There's one of them, I know that when they were taking me, I looked into his face, but he was wearing a mask and a cap. I saw only his eyes. The others I didn't see. But I think my sense tells me that they were younger, based on the voice and the way they're young, the ones behind, and the ones in front, unfortunately, I've not been able to interact with. I would really like to take this opportunity to thank people. And as I said, primarily, I would like to thank you, international media, but I also like to thank individuals in Tanzania and in Kenya who have spoken up. I've not been able to see everything. I just was briefed I'm aware that people like God bless Lema and Tundu Lissu and Mnyika, some of the politicians in Tanzania, have spoken up. I'm also aware that there have been a number of individuals who have done a lot of activism in terms of calling people. But I also want to thank a lot the government and the embassies of the EU delegation and the US. And of course, I would like to thank all the human rights associations in Kenya, including Amnesty International, Amnesty Kenya, Law Society of Kenya, Defenders Coalition. Sorry, I have a list. Yeah. So I want to thank everyone, and I want to thank very much also the people of Kenya. I would like to take this opportunity specifically to thank the driver who was the one who came to get me, Eric. I would really like, once things settle, to meet him. He actually took the initiative and reported the case to the police, and immediately, within a short time, I'm told, it went out that I was abducted. I want to thank him because I'm sure he was intimidated, although I at that moment in time I didn't see. And I would like to specifically thank, I don't know who the driver is from the City Hopper, but he really confused them because he blocked that car. And he also knocked them. So I want to thank very much. I also want to thank specifically Kenyans. The kind of ownership they had about this, I didn't expect. I can only say thank you very much to Kenya as well. Thank you, Kenya.
Yes. Can take some questions?
Yeah.
I'm Stewart here from the delegation.
Yes.
Pole sana for that.
Asante.
You've been in Kenya roughly 4 years.
Yes.
Why do you think this is happening now? I know last week you posted something on Tundu Lissu not being scared. Why do you think it's happening now, not years before?
Okay, should I take?
Can we
Yes.
do
Yes.
5?
Yes.
Then,
Yes.
you respond
Yes.
to another round.
Yeah. All right, thank you. My name is Esther Diana from Standard Media Group. You fled Tanzania specifically for safety. Do you, after the events that happened, do you feel safe in Kenya? And then when you say you got a driver, perhaps did you get a chance to ask the driver, the one who dropped you back to Kilmani, where he picked you up? Do you have a recollection of where you got the ride?
My name is Mike from TV47. Perhaps from what happened yesterday, prior to that incident, have you previously received threats from anyone else or police?
My name is Melita Oletenges from Citizen TV. My question is, after you fled Tanzania in 2020 and came to Kenya, did you register with any refugee organization and say that you were seeking asylum in the country?
Okay, then you can respond.
My name is Lucia from Space International News Agency. Just a very quick question. I'm not sure if you have an idea of how many people were involved or items in that.
I think you can take on
Yes. Okay. 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 So why now? 2025 is a watershed year for Tanzania. There is going to be a general election where for the first time we're going to be seeing the citizenry more awake than ever before. There is a much more bigger awareness, however the repression is getting very big. We have seen that the abductions have gone up since I would say 2 years now, but more in the past year. There's been a lot of abductions as well. Most of them have been politically targeted. One of the things that I've really fought for online, and I think it will answer to some of your questions, has been to shed light on abductions in Tanzania. One specific case that I know that I've done, and I've even filed with the UN, is of a young activist called Deusdedith Soka, but I've also done a number of abductions where continuously they have been reporting on the abductions. My feeling is that the Tanzania media, but not the mainstream media, but social media, have constantly been alluding that I am the cause for the ruling party CCM's demise, the unpopularity with the people. But it was more for me of a propaganda, but I think that now they're taking it more serious. But I also think that based on the fact that they really wanted access to my phone, I have a feeling that some of the things that I report on is now giving them sleepless nights. So that was one of the reasons they wanted. I think that 2025, there'll be more and more threats in Tanzania, but also outside Tanzania. I would like to take this moment to also mention specifically one person who I've had for many years target me specifically. His name is Musiba. And a few days before, on the 7th, he actually, on his online TV, he mentioned me and another journalist called Erika Bendera, who is also out of the country. And he said that what Tanzania needs to do, and that's what he said. He says we need to do the Kagame style and get them to come back and deal with them. So this I was told, but of course he's been saying a lot of outrageous things about me. But I think that this is probably one of the threats that was really taken seriously. I hope I've answered your question. About being safe, Esther, that's a very good question. And I will answer it together with the question about the asylum and the refugee. I didn't come to seek asylum in Kenya. I actually set up a business, and I was in the midst of moving, like officially moving, when I actually had to flee because I had information that they wanted to detain me. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware, what usually happens is when I say detain is they abduct you. If you're lucky, you appear in court. If you're unlucky, you don't. This is a trend that happened under President Magufuli, and that is the time just before the elections. Just like now it's 2025 beginning, so that was before the elections in 2020 when this happened. And then we made the decision that for that reason, it's what I would call self-exile, that I will never go back. So it was not specifically a refugee, but of course Amnesty International was aware. They were the first individuals who were aware about what we were experiencing and the fact that we didn't want to go back to Tanzania as self-exile, but we also asked for protection here. But I think within months, it became clear for us that Kenya was safe. So that was your question. And I've never felt unsafe in Kenya, to be honest. You asked about threats. Is that once there was an incident of a visit by people who were identified as DCI, but nothing, when we tried to follow up together with some of the human rights, we were told that there's no issue, that those people came to look for me, they are not a threat, or they were not looking for anything, so we let it go. So I don't know whether now that was a threat, but that's the only incident in the entire 4 years that I've had whereby I had individuals visit and then they left and they never came back. So I think that also is, for me, an indication that this gave me that safety. Now you're asking after the incident. That one, if you'll allow me, I will have to do assessment together with some assistants in terms of safety. I will say one thing. What makes me feel safe in Kenya are the Kenyans, more than anything else. Because what I experienced yesterday, I don't know how many people know that when you are being abducted and you see people fighting for you and they don't know who you are, that gave me a sense. And later I was told that in social media, Kenyans were actually trending it and commenting on it as if I was their own. For me, what gives me safety are the people. The second that gives, for me, a more secure is, unlike in Tanzania, there are rule of law things that have been happening, including the habeas corpus. And here I would like to take a moment to say, I feel very, very lucky compared to the people who have been disappeared in Tanzania. The activist I talked about, Deusdedith Soka, was disappeared, and the habeas corpus case was dismissed in court They couldn't even get that done, and he's still missing for months. So I feel that in Kenya there was enough pressure for whoever was behind this to feel that this could become something bigger than what they were thinking. While I feel that in Tanzania that the spotlight is not there, I feel that in a lot of countries it's not there. So to your question, I still believe Kenya is safer in the region than any other. Could it be better? Definitely. I really wish Kenyans and the Kenyan government would understand, for some of us in the region, what it means to be able to have a place where you can a little bit breathe, just a little bit. I'm not asking for much, just a little bit to say that I don't agree with a certain thing. I think I answered your question on the asylum and how many people there were. 4. So 3 were the ones who got out of the car and were always moving around. There was the driver. At the last time we stopped before they released me, the driver also got out, and I was left only with the person on my right who was holding me and choking me most of the time, and he kept holding me all the time. So he never got out of the car. He was the one, I think, who was assigned to basically keep me there. And the driver, when he got out, that was the longest time they were gone, and I believe they were doing some consultations. The passenger in front is the one who I suspect, because was speaking to me in Swahili and my name and always wanted to get my reaction. I suspect he's the one who was actually giving or taking instructions. And sometimes I could hear and I could feel movement, so I think they were doing sign language or something over my head, so I wouldn't understand. But those were more like maybe saying, let's go or watch or something. But if they needed to do any bigger thing, they would leave. Yeah.
I think we can take last rounds of questions, then we close.
Okay.
We'll start from
my name is Leonard Wamalo from West TV. I have 2 questions. One, in your own estimation, how long do you think that ordeal, the whole thing took? Then secondly, from your own assessment, do you think the attempt is the Tanzanian government has a direct hand in the abduction, or there was a collaboration?
Yeah, hi, I'm Dr. Musa Radio France. A bit of a similar question. Like, did you feel like the men who abducted you were Tanzanian or Kenyan? And even if, I'm guessing it's difficult to know, but who do you think is behind this, and if it was a collaboration?
My name is Alan from African Sensei. Given how close this came to being more serious than it actually became, what does it make you reconsider at all your voice and your position in terms of critiquing the things that happen in Tanzania or in the country? And if you could also speak to the situation with abductions of foreign nationals in various countries in East Africa and what that does to Kenya's reputation.
any other
There's a question I didn't answer.
Right.
Yeah, I will.
Amnesty. Yeah, I'd like to pick your mind concerning this abduction, and this is not the first time such incident where an Kenyan is being abducted on the Kenyan soil. So I'd like to know from where you sit, to what extent does this breach the legal process of extradition? And what does it say about Kenya's reputation globally?
Maria will go first.
Kenya set for exile settlement.
Maria will go first. Then
Okay. I'm sorry, there's a question I didn't answer about the driver. So I, to be honest, because the way they said is that I should just go home and I shouldn't talk to anyone. When we were getting near, I just asked him the fare. I didn't want to ask. And I was very scared, to be honest. I got my relief when I saw the gate, and I knew once I'm inside the gate, I'll be fine. So one of the things I've been trying to see, and I want to take this opportunity to appeal, if that driver sees this and he recognizes me, I actually had a cap. When they released me, they put a cap on me and they said go. So he wouldn't know, but I'm sure he will remember where he dropped me. As I said, when he was taking me, I was very quiet, but I was also trying at that time to remember what happened, so I was not paying attention. When I looked up, the first thing that I saw was I was on Gong at Carrefour. That's the thing that I recognized. And I said, this is Gong Road. And he said, yes. So then I felt that I am back. In terms of how long it took, I cannot say, but based on the fact that I texted my husband, I think it was before 3, that I'm about to leave. I think the abduction happened around 3 to 3:30. When they released me, it was dusk. Do you know the dusk which very quickly becomes night? So it was like when I came out, I started panicking. I said, is it my eyes? Like, because it was so tight for long. I said, is it that I can't see? And then I realized after a while that it's dusk. And I didn't walk for long when it became pitch dark. And of course there were no lights, so I was walking just based on the vehicles. So I think if you look at that, I think that must have been 7:30. I'm not sure, but I know that it must have been between that time. And I don't also know what time. You guys might remember what time I called, because I'm sorry, I have a very big disorientation until then. But of course, as you know, I use my phone to check the time. So unfortunately, even this morning I woke up, I said, what time is it? And I was looking for my phones. So I think it must have been between 3 to 4 hours. One thing I just wanted to very quickly say, because I find this very important, and you asked about the involvement of Tanzanians. My feeling was the way they were speeding and the way we were going on the bumps. And then after a while, we got to a bit of a rough road, and then we went again on good roads. My estimation, and I voiced it later, is that they wanted to cross me. They wanted to take me across the border. Maybe not them, maybe they had a team waiting, because they kept getting out, and I said, who are we waiting for? And at one point, one of them said, we're just waiting for the boss. Then I said, oh, you have a boss, who is your boss? Then they got angry, because they realized they gave me some information that I could do. So again, then it was a struggle. But one of the things that I can say with confidence, there was Tanzanian involvement. And the reason I'm so confident is that I see no reason whatsoever for the Kenyan government to abduct me in Nairobi and start driving me around and ask for my phones. Because there is a better way if there's anything that could have happened. The other thing is the police next to me kept telling me, don't worry, I'm police, I'm taking you to a police station. And in fact, that same was sitting on the right asked me, did you commit anything wrong? I said, no, I didn't. He said, now you see, so why are you worried? So I said, because you abducted me. But he was trying to psychologically calm me down. Of course, I understood that. I'm not sure whether they knew that I also understood the kind of psychological games they were playing. Sorry, about Tanzania, Kenya, can you remind me your question?
Yeah, you kind of answered. Did you feel there was like a collaboration?
Oh, there was. So, one of the things I feel is that because I cannot judge. I can only judge based on what they were saying and how they were speaking. The ones at the back who were basically doing what I say, the manhandling, the handcuffing, the dragging, I think they were Kenyan, because I didn't speak Swahili at all. I just spoke English continuously. The person in front was attempting several times to speak to me in Swahili and calling my name, but I refused to respond. My feeling is that's where the connection happens. And it's that same individual who also wanted my PIN and wanted my phones. So my feeling is the involvement based on what we're talking about is they wanted that access and the other thing. And I don't think this collaboration was official. I don't think so. Because there were times when, there were twice I think, when we got to a place, we were on the road, they slowed down, and then they told me to keep absolutely quiet. And I was very scared by then because they would really press me down, and I could hear people around. So I'm not sure whether this was now like a police block, but they kept telling me, be very quiet right now. Now my thinking is, if this was an official collaboration, they would have sailed through. That's my thinking. If this was something that was sanctioned, they would have sailed through. They wouldn't have needed to stop. They wouldn't have needed, they could even my thinking was they could even have gotten an escort to the border. So it didn't feel like that. It also, for me, it felt that there was a lot of hesitation, which, again, I think it was the international pressure. Yeah, Namu. About the criticism, I will not stop. I will not. That's one thing I can promise. I will not stop, I will not relent, and I will not decrease anything. And in fact, it has given me so much things to be grateful for. As you rightfully said, this could have gone so wrong. There was a point in time when I was convinced that I was about to be taken across, and I knew the minute I crossed, you would never hear from me again. I'll become another poster. So I will never stop, never, ever stop. And if this was done, whether to intimidate me, to really harm me, that will never stop me. I will continue continuously to speak out. And not what I'm asking, I just want the world to know. In any normal democracy, I'm not asking for anything big. I ask for rule of law. I'm asking for the abductions to stop. And I'm asking for true democracy, which includes not abducting, hurting, and killing the opposition in Tanzania. I'm not a member of the opposition, but I speak up for them because they are under threat. People like Tundu Lissu, who have been shot, barely survived, are still being targeted. For that reason, I cannot keep quiet. First of all, I have a bigger obligation now than ever before. But second, again, I am not doing anything illegal. I'm not doing anything that anybody would say is unconventional. I'm asking for the basic human rights in Tanzania. To finish up about foreign nationals, I think I'll leave that up to Roland to comment. My take is that it's very unfortunate. As I said before, I feel Kenya is definitely a place where I never felt threatened, never. So it's very unfortunate, but allow me then to hand over to Roland. Yeah.
Thank you, Maria, and very sorry to hear what you had to go through. What we are seeing in Kenya currently is what Amnesty International has described before as a rise in transnational repression, and this is where governments world over are seen to violate human rights beyond their borders. In July this year, you'd recall that 7 asylum seekers, Turkish asylum seekers, that was 18 October, 7 asylum seekers were abducted in a similar manner, daytime, that was Kilimani area, and 4 of them were illegally extradited to Turkey to face trial. In July this year, 36 opposition members of Forum for Democracy, a Ugandan opposition party, were arrested in Kisumu while attending a forum and forced back to Uganda, where they are facing trial, terrorism trial in Kampala. These were opposition members. You would recall that on 16 November last year, opposition leader Kizza Besigye was abducted in a hotel in Nairobi, Kenya, resurfaced 4 days later in Kampala, where he's currently undergoing a trial in a military court, a court-martial. This is a very dangerous precedent for Kenya, considering Kenya recently ascended to a seat in the UN Human Rights Council. This is a very dangerous precedent to Kenya, considering that we host very many expatriates in this country. Kenya is set to become one of the largest, I think the 3rd largest UN hub in the world. And when foreign nationals do not feel protected, they don't feel secure in this country, then this is really dangerous. And to add on the many cases that we are already dealing with of Kenyans already facing similar abductions, and looking at many that are still missing. As of right now, from the 7 that were abducted towards the end of the year, beginning of the year, 6 of them were released, but 1 is still missing. These cases are not resolved. Politicians, religious groups, human rights organizations have called for accountability and justice for these cases. As Amnesty International, of course, looking at the recent case, Maria's case, which really goes back and a reflection of what happened. We talked about asylum seekers, opposition leaders, talked about business persons, media owners. It really brings a worrying question: who is safe? Who is safe? And is criticizing the state an offense, but also for the Kenyan government to really follow extradition procedures whenever it really has to go after somebody for whatever reasons. So I will stop there and call on more investigations, a conclusive investigation into Maria's case. This is just one of the many cases, but a very lucky cases, as Maria has pointed out, because she has been released and the case was able to get all this publicity in good time, a response in good time. What about the other cases of people still missing, or others that were disappeared for very long period of time and they have not gotten any form of justice? So asking for accountability and thorough, impartial and independent investigations to bring the truth into what really happened yesterday and what has happened in all manner on cases of abductions in Kenya. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. From the Law Society of Kenya, it has been clear that the ongoing abductions or detention of people arbitrarily has been continuing. And as of now, we still have the 4 from Lolongo who were abducted and they are not yet accounted for. We are calling for accountability from the government. The government has been very clear in evading responsibility, and we are asking them. They have said these are heinous acts and they need to be condemned. Our question has been, from July till today, no investigation has been done, no investigation has been cleared, and we are not being told the people who are responsible. As the Law Society of Kenya, we will demand for command responsibility. The back of security in this country stops with the IG, and we will be asking the court, we are asking the court in petition 714 of 2024, the habeas corpus of the 7, I believe the 6 who were abducted. We are asking for accountability, and one of our prayers will be to hold the IG responsible for the acts of omission or commission by the IG to investigate these cases of abductions. Lastly, for us, we are not talking much. We want to assure the public that we will follow up on each and every case of abduction or arbitrary arrests, and especially of those of police brutality. The Law Society of Kenya is here, and all other civil society organizations. They have their toll numbers, and we are asking all Kenyans, especially on the case of yesterday, if they actually took a photo of the Noah that Maria was in. We're asking them to circulate it widely for us to know the people who are involved. And if there's anyone else who saw what was happening, let them come forward through the Law Society or any other civil society organizations, the toll-free line numbers, and tell us what happened. I think at the end of the day, we are tired of what the government is doing, and we are calling for accountability. That is it.
Thank you so much. We'll close it at that. For Roland, lawyer, Maria, you will hold on because I've come up with a candidate. We just need a slight brief of that. Thanks so much, colleagues.
Just maybe from the media over here, on Wednesday morning, one of the most important cases on police accountability will unfold in Milimani, and that's the case of Baby Pendo. The hearing is taking place on Wednesday morning, the 15th of January. We can give you details, but it is a case in which we are seeing for the very first time the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions prosecuting senior commanding officers under the International Criminal Act for 47 crimes against humanity. So it's a very important case, and of course many of the Kenyans who are here know the case of Baby Pendo. So please, if we can see you in court on Wednesday, that will make the difference. Back to you, Rama.
Thanks so much. I think we've summarized what's coming ahead. We'll call this press conference to a close. We'll have Maria and Gloria and Roland remain behind for another